Hi, I'm Kelly from Fig and Bloom, and today I'm going to show you how to give your Fig and Bloom bouquet eternal life. You may have been the recipient of a Fig and Bloom bouquet, or you may have sent some Fig and Blooms. And today I'm going to show you how you can make that beautiful bouquet last forever. If you're interested in drying out your flowers, don't just pop them in a vase for a couple of weeks and hope for the best. That's not the ideal way to do it. Start to dry your flowers before they start to drop their leaves or their colour starts to turn from a vibrant colour to a faded colour. One of the key components in drying your flowers is preserving the integrity of the stem. Firstly, take your flowers and foliages out of the vase or out of the bucket of water, and they may need to sit for about 2 to 3 hours just to completely dry. You can also pat them dry with a cloth. Now that your flowers are nice and dry, you'll need an elastic band. And I find an elastic band is always best to dry the flowers and foliages with, because as they dry, they do obviously dehydrate. And so the elastic band has that flexibility to be able to hold the stems as they dry and thin out just slightly. Then tie a little bit of twine around the base of the foliage and the flowers and bind them upside down in a cool, dry place. So the moisture is now going to drain upside down right to the tips, and that ensures that the tips remain nice and full and lush, so when it completely dries, it will look beautiful in the vase. Now that our flowers and foliages have completely dried out, what we are going to do is create the design in the vase. The majority of the flowers in the Fig and Bloom broom design are flowers that dry really beautifully. So you can see some of this eucalyptus has been drying for 2 months and it's still maintained some beautiful colour, that sort of grey blue colour in its foliage. These particular straw flowers I have reinforced with floral wire because the integrity in the stem wasn't there for these. However, you can tell the colour is just so beautiful, so I couldn't resist adding them in today, and these beautiful pinks are going to be a real highlight in the design. So let's start with our eucalyptus base. And as with many of our Fig and Bloom designs, this is going to be a front-facing design. Now that we've got our really beautiful full base of eucalyptus, I'm going to start adding the lovely dried flowers. A nice thing about designing using dried flowers is, of course, there's no water at all in the vase, and therefore the stems that we can use don't need to be long stems, because as long as they are gridded within the design, they don't need to touch a water source. Now we're going to design a similar bouquet of native Australian flowers and foliages, but this time using just tinted flowers and foliages. When you're tinting your flowers, make sure that you hold the flower quite a distance away, because you don't want to saturate and completely lose the natural colour of the flowers. Similar to the last collection, we're going to use a eucalyptus base, and this time I've tinted it a beautiful snow white colour. I've chosen to do this because keeping the colours neutral allow the flowers to pop, and also keeping the foliages a neutral colour make it a little bit more realistic. As the focal flower, I'll be using these King Proteas, and these are a couple which have been drying for about 6 months. And we've chosen to tint them a very soft pale pastel pink. And we've chosen this soft pale pink because it's very similar to its natural colour when it's fresh. And we've just tinted the internals just a slight deeper burgundy for a little bit of depth of colour. When I'm designing the flowers, I'm always considering colour blocking and textural blocking. So just making sure that if there's a flower down here, one up here, then there's a flower that's going to link those two together. And a really nice thing to do, particularly with your dried flowers, is make sure that no stems are showing, because that can just make it look a bit too twiggy. Once you're happy with your dried designs, here are 4 tips to care for your dried designs. Tip number 1, avoid damp areas. And this might be the bathroom or the laundry. Try not to put your flowers in there at any time, and definitely don't put any water in the vase. Tip number 2 is to avoid direct sunlight. Direct sunlight can weaken the stems and cause them to become frail and brittle, and particularly for the beautifully naturally dried flowers. The naturally dried flowers can fade, the colour can fade faster in direct sunlight. Tip number 3 is try not to move the flowers around too much, as they're quite brittle and fragile. It's okay to sort of give them a little bit of a zhuzh, but don't move them around too much. And the last tip is, like anything in the home, they will collect dust over time. So feel free to give them a light dust, and my favourite way to do that is with a hairdryer on a cold setting and just on a really light, low setting. For more exclusive content and to send a beautiful bouquet, visit us online at figandbloom.com. I'm Kelly from Fig and Bloom. See you next time.